What's up, man? It's your boy Jay Hatch, Creative Space Podcast. This is our very first episode, shot right here, Sound Collective NYC. We got a special guest today, singer-songwriter, stand-up comedian. He has his own platform called The Right Way. Clap your hands one time for my man, Jordiii. So real quick, Jordiii, man, I appreciate you for being here. The first episode, Creative Space Podcast. You've been to a lot of the camps. You've seen how we operate for the most part.
Absolutely.
How do you feel about collaboration in general as a writer in today's climate of music?
I love it, man. I think no one man is an island. I think that's a personal philosophy of mine. Not an original philosophy, but collaboration makes for the best kind of work to me. There's also less of a headache, when you don't have to worry about everything, every little detail of a record or whatever it is that you're working on. But I think collaboration is like literally what makes the world go round.
Okay. So, generally I think people who may be on the outside looking in understand that songwriters are obviously there to write songs, but what do you feel like is your full role in that capacity when you're in the room with the artist working? What is the actual role of the writer?
I think as a writer, we take on many roles. I think one would be facilitator, right? We have to make space for the artist, especially if they're not used to working with other songwriters or producers. We have to make room for them. I'm a great collaborator because I know how to make room for people. I know how to make space for people. Okay. For even other writers, it's not only about me.
Yeah.
I understand that the record takes more than just me,
right.
To be made. Another thing is sometimes they just, they might just need a little push. So I'm also a motivator. I'm like, I like to bounce ideas back and forth. But yeah, I could take on that role. I can also be like a producer. Sometimes get next to the producer and be like, yo, like I hear this, but like with like a violin, you know what I'm saying? So, so many different roles.
Yeah. How do you decipher what role to play at the time? Like, what is it about comfort level? Is it about just being in the right place, the right time? Like, how do you decipher how to be those different people and wear those different hats?
I think just discernment, kind of like reading the room and kind of just knowing what feeling it out, you know what I'm saying? Understanding who it is that you're working with, how they work, even asking questions, you know what I'm saying? Like there's nothing wrong. I mean, it's awesome if you could be like super intuitive and just be like, oh, this, his lips are dry, or let me get him some water,
right.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But sometimes just asking questions clarifies it. Like, yo, what's up? Like, what do you like? How do you usually work?
Right.
Do you need like a guitar? Let's figure this out. Should we just like play this track on loop and we figure out the melody? Should I go in the booth, lay out some melodies? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Chorus. So many different ways to figure out what needs to be done in the room.
Okay. Do you remember your first session with somebody in the room, like either a major artist or major producer? What was that like for you? What was that first experience like? What did you learn from it?
It actually led to my first placement. Did a song called One Love for Carl Thomas. A producer / manager of mine took me to his house in Teaneck, New Jersey. He was living there at the time.
Okay.
And I already laid down an idea on, this is gonna like tell people my age, but an i930, Nextel i930, which was the first Nextel phone that allows you to do, it was a chirper, absolutely, okay. That allows you to do voice notes on it. So I kind of played the CD and like the lyrics, the song that I wrote, I kind of just sang it all from beginning to end, kind of like an old school way. Not that old school. We could punch then, but I'm just saying I laid it into the phone from beginning to end. Played it for Carl. He was like, yo, I really like this. Like, is it cool if we lay it down? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Which was like, I was already like emotional, Summer Rain. Like I'm already like a huge fan.
Right,
so
yeah.
I was really nervous.
Didn't want to come off like a fanboy or anything.
Exactly. And so we went, he had a studio in his basement. And I was kind of like I love his professionalism because I was kind of like, I guess I was kind of fanboying it. I was a bit intimidated.
Yeah. I guess just trying to understand the process too, working with somebody of that stature at that time.
Yeah. At that time, I didn't even know how to like arrange vocals. I just literally wrote the lead, sang the lead, and he just liked the melody. He kind of understood that, and he kind of allowed me to like fall back a little while he like figured it all out. And it was awesome, man. It was super smooth. But yeah, I definitely learned a lot from him. Even the way he cut vocals, you know what I'm saying? So much. At the time, he didn't have any ideas for like backgrounds, and that led to technically the first time I worked with Troy Taylor, who later took me on. But yeah, I remember that. It was a very memorable, like amazing, like it felt sort of like a Cinderella story, you know what I'm saying? But
so in your experiences, when you think about, written songs versus maybe songs you've made in the studio, where do you feel, I guess, more of the impact is made? Do you feel like when you've made songs and walked into the room prepared, they worked out better for you, or you think when you get in the room and you kind of work off the energy of the person, do you think, or the person that you're with or the artist that you're with, you think that makes more of an impact?
Oh, I personally love to get in with the artist to work. I feel like when the artist is tied to it emotionally, it's a lot easier.
Okay.
However, a lot of my earlier placements, the songs that I wrote, I didn't tailor it for the artist that I was placing it in. So I never wrote a song and thought about how the artist,
person,
And because what we tend to do is we tend to, when we think like that, most of us, not all of us, but most of us tend to follow what's already been done for that artist, as opposed to making something that may open up a new door for that artist, a new sound for that artist. I try to always just do something that I love and have fun with it, and I've been blessed that has worked for me.
I think that's a good point because a lot of times writers are very experienced, like they want to write about their experiences when they're trying to write for other people, and sometimes it's really hard to kind of like decipher what a Rihanna might be going through right now at her age, or a Kehlani or another artist. So I think that's probably more of a universal feel when you write for other artists. Have you felt that when you've kind of been more open and I guess more broader in the sense of how you write, does that make the artist feel a little more comfortable as well?
I think that in as far as vocals go.
Okay.
If I'm more minimalistic, it tends to work better for the artist, especially if they're like great singers. They can interpolate and interpretate it better. However, when it comes to like the content of the song, I try to keep it personal to myself.
Okay.
And I learned, you learn that everybody goes through that type of heartache. And again, which goes to what I was saying earlier, you're not an island. You know what I'm saying? You think like your issues are only your own. And they're really like you've figured out that it's not. Like everybody's going through a version of it. You know what I'm saying? So you might place a record because maybe just the first verse or maybe just the chorus did something to the artist, and so yeah, man, that's pretty much what I believe, that the more personal I am with my record, like the more chance I have to place a record.
Well, the reason why I ask it too is because there's a lot of writers that are kind of like, oh, that's my record. Like they want to hold on to, sometimes that's my baby. I can't give it away. Maybe somebody wants it, but they're afraid to give it away. How do you combat situations like that where you maybe written a song you feel could either be a new sound for you, or you feel really attached to it, versus maybe somebody hearing it and being like, Jordiii, I need that record. What we doing? You know what I'm saying?
First off, writers, artists, if you feel that way about a record, don't play it for management, don't play it for the artist.
Shooting yourself in the foot.
You are, because everybody, first off, everybody's entitled to their opinion. But yeah, I think like that's your biggest mistake. Like stepping in the room and playing a record that you want for yourself or that you really love for an exec or somebody, especially if it's like a fire song, where you put your all into it, and they're gonna hear it and they're gonna be like, hey, I want that for this. And so you definitely shooting yourself in the foot. But I don't know. Sometimes you just gotta sit with something. Just sit with it and see how you really feel about it, and see it, because that really is your child. Like, what's the best place for your child?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you gotta sit with it and kind of just like, can I do the best for this song right now? Am I gonna stick to it too? Because you could release it and then you're of the mind that it's like, you know, you could be feel entitled, which I have. I've definitely done that. If you looked at like my releases, I've definitely done that where I felt like it's so dope, it should just be taken off by himself as opposed to like working it.
Yeah.
Are you gonna do that? Are you gonna sit with this record?
Yeah.
Another thing, are you ever gonna release this record? You might just sit on this record for the rest of your life.
Wait for the right time, right?
Yeah. And that right time, it's never gonna feel like the right time. So again, it takes a lot of, you know, think it through, figure it out. Don't play it for anybody if you love it, if you really love it. Play it for people that you trust and that have your interests, like your best interest in mind. And yeah, just hope for the best and don't shoot yourself in the foot, for sure.
I want to talk about the right way a little bit, your platform that you have. First of all, what exactly is it? You know, why did you start it? And also, why do you think it's so important for writers to be a part of it?
That's an interesting question. That's a great question.
That's what I asked.
You're a genius. So The Right Way started in 2006.
Okay.
Jordiii, Amasori from singersroom.com. He had 4 schools in the Bronx with the lowest reading score. And he had this idea to bring creative writing into those schools to see if they help bring the numbers up. And so after long passionate talk between he and I about like just helping the youth out and helping people from poorer neighborhoods, he pitched the idea to me. I was like, awesome, man, let's call it The Right Way. And he loved it because at the time I was Jordiii Writes. That was my moniker, like on MySpace. And so, yeah, we did 2, I forget if it's 2 or 3 of the schools that we did. I think we did 2 of the schools. And then we had a cool budget for that semester, but then it was cut. And it kind of went south from there. So then about 9 years later, 2017, it kind of just resurfaced the idea. You actually being a part of like your platform with I Standard and I Write kind of fueled that a lot. You and I met in 2015.
Yeah.
And I think we were both on a panel for something. And yeah, like you and I kind of just like linked up and had great chemistry and a great friendship. We developed a great friendship, and you kind of just always kept me in the loop. Yeah, like you kind of inspired that. Just me being there, I'm just like, yo, you know what? I should bring back the Right Way. And another guy that participates with you, Unir Gaines, told me, he's like, yo, you should do like your own thing. And I'm like, it's time to bring back the Right Way. And I brought it back, and it was great. I did it from 2017 to 2020. February, March, I was gonna do it, and then we all know what happens March 2020.
Right.
And then I tried to do it online, and it was like shabby. It just didn't feel right. And so I stopped. I kind of gave up again. And then earlier this year, earlier this year, we did The Right Way, which was amazing. Everything kind of fell into place.
Right.
And I'm back to helping people. So the idea of it, to make a long story less long, is I debunk writer's block. I don't believe in writer's block at all. We find creative ways to keep people creating. And it's great. I think anybody who's struggling, anybody who's not particularly struggling but wants to just be prepared for times that they are going to struggle should come out and have some fun with us. You
took away my next question. That's what it was going to be. So you talk about this, ideology if there's no such thing as writer's block, which I also believe. What is the reasoning from your perspective? Like, was it something that you actually went through and you were like, I just need to do this, and you want to make sure that people are aware of it, or why do you have that strong opinion on that?
So definitely went through what I thought was writer's block. And there was, when I sat and thought about it, I started practicing like mindfulness, like meditation, et cetera. And when I sat and thought about it, I realized that I just needed rest. That was the biggest thing. I needed rest. I was like burned out from, at the time, 13 plus years of songwriting, like in the studio, like maybe six days a week, 7 days a week, sleeping in the studio, all of that stuff. And I was burnt out. It wasn't writer's block at all. And then I came across this book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And she has some great exercises. And then I started, just kind of thinking, and I'm like, even in my worst moments, I was still creating, maybe not music, but my mind was still creating, like thinking about like worst case scenarios. Your mind is creating. This thing, and it's anxiety, it may never happen, but your mind is creating these scenarios.
Right.
So it's not like you can't create. What's happening is, of course, you either need to hydrate and you need some rest. You need to take a break. But aside from that, it also may be comparison. You're comparing yourself to what's happening around you. And it might just be life issues getting in the way of everything.
Right.
Like self-esteem, ego, a whole bunch of things getting in the way of your creativity. Like just writer's block, the idea in itself just does not exist.
Yeah. I was thinking too, like, during COVID, like you had mentioned, like when you kind of had to take a break from right away, I think a lot of people kind of fell into that trap of where they were working from their basement or bedroom and kind of like had to be held back from everything that they probably could have done, that they should have done.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're kind of in this trance of like, I can't do anything. I got to just kind of figure out how to push through. How did you motivate yourself through some of those tough times? Did you take a break? Were you mentally not really in the mood to write? Like, how did you utilize that time?
Funny. 2019 on my birthday, I had all of my songwriter friends come out. And we were in the studio and we worked. It was for my birthday, it was like a magical night. But somehow I left that night, I went home and I said, you know what? I'm taking a break from songwriting. I'm not gonna do it. I was like, if I'm honest, I was very jaded with the industry, with the way things were going.
Of course.
I took a break from that. I continued with the right way. And I also wanted to get into screenwriting, which I did a lot of in 2020, as well as like acting. I wanted to get into acting. And literally 2019, I landed a role for West Side Story on Broadway. I did 3 projector scenes for them. The projector scene meaning like I performed in the scenes that are played in the background on the projector while the artists on the stage are performing. So I got to do that right before the pandemic as well. So I was really just, and I still have plans to go back to like acting and things like that. But I never stopped creating. And so what helped with me during my break with music were my friends. My friend Bobby Dubs, Justin, he tricked me actually into starting music again. He was just like, yo, like, bro, it was like 2021, right after the Panini. And he was like, yo, you should come through. We chilling, like we got like some wine. We just relaxing. I was like, word, all right, I'm coming through. So I get in there and Sham is there. My boy Brooklish is in there. Just the whole squad, Dahlia, everybody's in there. And they're creating in the room. And I'm in the living room just like pumped, drinking wine. And I'm just like, yo, this dude. But then like, what I love is that I realized like, yo, I love this. I love music. Why am I like doing this to myself? I just went in the room and it was like, yo, you got something for this? And that's it. I just started creating again. Started creating music again. I never stopped creating, but creating music again, man. And it was, so friends. And I took a break from that avenue, basically. For sure.
That's dope. That's a good story to tell. You know what I'm saying? I think we all go through a lot of different things, and sometimes everybody's own story can influence and inspire others. When you look at today's writers, some of the newer writers, is there anybody that stands out to you? Anybody that you really enjoy, the product from?
Yeah, he's not super new, but St. John, I think is like a little less known than like, but I think St. John is such a great songwriter, an artist for sure, but I think he's such a great songwriter.
Yeah.
So he stands out a lot. Who else have I really listened to that I think is like doing their thing right now? I like Eli a lot.
Yeah.
Elijah Day. I like him, your artist. He's super dope to me as well. And Guy Lair, Guy Lair is a beast.
Yeah.
So those are like the up and coming people that I think are really dope. Dahlia Javon as well. She's super dope. Noel Scales, which I met during I Write. Yeah. Shout out Philly. Those artists are just, they keep me motivated.
It's dope because there's a really good wave of writers right now, like Amnesia, Ann Clemens, Stacey Barth. I mean, Stacey's been around for a while, but she's amazing.
Yeah, Stacey's a colleague.
She's finally starting to get her shine.
Absolutely.
I mean, look at what Victoria Monet's done these last few years. Not that they're new, but they're of this era of writers. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's super dope.
They're getting the light, the spotlight.
They're getting the bag finally. Too,
it
takes a while for the bag to be passed off to the writers. You know what I'm saying?
Bro. Yeah, it really does, man.
So just to kind of close out, what advice, just general advice, would you give some of these new writers, knowing that you've had this past of work with some of the greats like Troy Taylor and Chris Brown and Omarion and these different people? What kind of advice could you give these people to stay motivated and also to just kind of find their own niche within this crazy industry, I guess?
Hey, boys and girls, dope do dope. No, I'm kidding. Find new ways to create. Explore every avenue. If you're a songwriter, try your hand at production. If you're a producer, try your hand at songwriting. If you do both, try your hand at engineering. If you love film, get into writing for film.
Yeah.
If you have if you have a passion that has nothing to do with songwriting, pursue that. That might actually strengthen your songwriting. That'll strengthen every other creative aspect of yourself. Just be true to yourself and do whatever you want. If you paint action figures, do that. If that helps, do it. Take a walk. Take yourself out on a date. That's another thing we do at the Right Way as well, the artist date. Just keep moving. Just stay motivated. Just do other things. It's okay to pause one aspect of the creative journey, but just keep creating though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where
could everybody find you online, my brother?
Jordiii writes everywhere. So Jordiii is Jord 3 I's, like the third eye. Jord 3 I's writes, WRITES, and that's on Instagram, that's on X, that's on Threads, that's on TikTok.
Black Planet.
BlackPlanet.com. Mi gente. Yeah, Christian Mingle is a new one though. I just downloaded that. You know what I'm saying?
Word. I appreciate, man, being part of the first episode.
Thank you for having me.
First episode, Creative Space podcast right here. Sound Collective NYC. Big shout out to Maurizio behind the camera. We appreciate y'all, man. Thanks for tuning in. Watch out for the next one.